Welcome to the Terrible Podcast with your hosts from SteelersDepot.com, where you can find all your latest and greatest Steelers news. It's Dave Bryan and Alex Kozora, always lit, talking Steelers. And now, here's Dave and Alex.
Welcome to the Terrible Podcast, another special edition of the Terrible Podcast, Pittsburgh Steelers Training Camp 2024. It is August the 6th. It is Tuesday. It is 5:17 p.m. in the Eastern Time. Brandon Ayuk is still currently a member of the San Francisco 49ers. I am Dave Bryan of SteelersDepot.com, and with me back off of fresh yet another trip out to Saint Vincent College in Latrobe, the one, the only, the great Alex Kozora. Alex, happy Tuesday.
Happy Tuesday, Dave. Let me just get this out of the way to begin with. Yes, Calvin Austin was on the field today. Yes, Darnell Washington was on the field today. Yes, Stan Moore Jr. was on the field today. No, Brandon Ayuk was not on the field in Pittsburgh today. Those are a lot of the questions I was getting as the rumors are swirling. We'll save that there for the Wednesday show. We'll record a little bit later tonight, which will be all Ayuk filled, I'm sure. But yeah, today's focus is seemingly less on camp and more on all the Ayuk rumors.
This will sound like Charlie Brown's parents to everybody listening to this one tonight, probably with all the Ayuk noise.
Implying they're going to listen to this, which I don't know if it's going to happen.
Yeah, it's all going to sound like wah, 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 wah. But before you get into that mode, Alex, tell the fine people about Touring Plans, touringplans.com, a fine sponsor of these special editions of the Terrible Podcast.
And longtime sponsor of the Terrible Podcast and our Steelers Depot training camp coverage in these podcast episodes. So if you're planning a trip to Disney World, Disneyland, or Disney Cruise Line, perhaps to celebrate, hopefully at some point, Brandon Ayuk trade news. I don't know, maybe you do it. You go to touringplans.com. With them, you'll receive access to their crowd calendar to know the days and times when the parks are the busiest and least busy. Plans to avoid waiting in line for hours just to ride that one ride. Insider restaurant reviews, how to save money on tickets, always important. Just overall tips to have the best experience possible at any of Disney's locations. If you're planning a trip here this winter, reach out to Touring Plans. That's touringplans.com, and tell them Steelers Depot sent you.
Indeed do. And shout out to Lynn Testa at Touring Plans on Twitter/X. All right, Alex, we got some housekeeping to take care of. No transactions for Tuesday yet, but got a laundry list of injured players and players' participation levels to go over. While you do that, I'm going to go make a sandwich, and I'll be back in about 15 minutes. Have at it.
Yeah, this one's going to take a second. Pittsburgh has been pretty fortunate to stay healthy, and the list is getting long in the dog days of training camp today. Just quickly before I get into all of that, and you're right, some transactions probably going to hit here for Wednesday's practice. Want to shout out Dave, a fellow Dave, not you, Dave, but a different Dave who hung out with me at practice today and helped me with some personnel groupings, and that was a big asset to today's notes. So I want to shout that out. He was with us last week and a good guy, so thank him for that. All right, on to today's notes. Quarterback Russell Wilson had his most active day of training camp. Stop me if you've heard that one before, but he was in team period. And while he didn't get arguably his full complement of reps that a quote-unquote normal and non-recovering from injury quarterback would get, he threw, I'll have to count it later, but 5-6 passes, and certainly got his most activity overall of training camp today, and had his first touchdown thrown to George Pickens. So that is good to see. Not practicing today was Roman Wilson with his left ankle, but he's moving around okay. Keanu Benton did not practice. Don't know what the issue is there. Who else didn't practice? My notes are kind of scattered about today. TJ Watt, Cam Hayward, Isaac Seumalo had basically rest days, some half days. Watt did some conditioning stuff, same with Seumalo, but those guys just giving some time off, which has been typical this training camp. Rodney Williams returned in limited fashion, so that was good. Graylin Arnold remains limited. Patrick Queen was in pads and dressed, and so that was encouraging after missing the weekend, but he was limited, did not work in the team session. Jeremiah Moon, limited, still working his way back. Larry Ogunjobi, Minka Fitzpatrick practiced in full, as did outside linebacker Kyron Johnson, seemingly fully recovered from that hamstring injury that cost him about a week. I know in practice, apparently several injuries to Alex Highsmith with a groin. We'll bring in our specialist, Dave Bryan, on that. Tyler Murray with a groin, I think. Nate Meters, a hamstring, and DeMarvin Leal. I saw Leal get up slow midway through practice. He finished, he only had to done, he worked after that. So I don't know what the issue is there with Leal. Felt minor, but we'll check all those guys tomorrow.
So that's what my life has become. Huh?
Yes, you are now the Brandon Ayuk Twitter specialist and the groin specialist.
Salary cap, Brandon Ayuk news, and groin speculation.
Groins.
Now, I would like to let it be known that I only like to speculate on groins if I see the injury occur. I usually try to stay away from groin speculation on groin injuries that I don't see. But obviously, we hope it's not serious when it comes to those guys, specifically Alex Highsmith. He's dealt, I think, with that a little bit in his career so far. So hopefully it doesn't sideline him too terribly long there. Did you get it all?
I think, and we should note, the Lions are getting a little thin at outside linebacker again. I mean, Watt will come back tomorrow from rest, and Kyron Johnson's back, and Moon's working his way back. But, well, they added a different pass rusher. I'm not even sure if I saw Marcus Golden in team today. I don't have a note of that. He was dressed, but might add another edge guy. Also, one coach not there. Tight ends coach Alfredo Roberts was not on the practice field today. I assume he's part of the IU deal. Maybe I don't trade for a tight ends coach. I don't know. But Arthur Smith ran the tight ends through drills. He's a former tight ends coach. Smith is, and so that was a seamless transition. But yeah, uncommon to see a coach not on the field today.
All right, let's start with the quarterback position. How much more did Russell Wilson actually do today? What did you think about it? How did he look? Lay it all out.
Yeah, I mean, the work wasn't super intense. He threw, again, I'll have to calculate 5-6 passes, probably got maybe 10-12 reps total in the team periods today, which is a little less than typical for someone like him. Probably get around 20 or so a little under that, just kind of ballparking eye test right now. Threw a fade ball to Pickens in 7 shots, his first pass for a touchdown. There was a couple other passes to Pickens, a quick connection there. It was not a scramble drill because Wilson wasn't scrambling, but extended play where he kind of threw up a floater for Darnell Washington, who caught it. So, ball came out with a good zip. I'm just happy he's getting those reps. That's just good to see overall to get the reps, less so than really hyper evaluating the quality of those reps.
All right, and we said that Tuesday would be a big line in the sand day, and it sounds like he took whatever step forward in that. I would guess that as long as he doesn't have any setbacks, we'll continue to see that ramp up. Well, I guess we'll have to wait and see when it comes to Friday's preseason game. Do you get a sense yet whether or not we'll see him in that game yet at all?
I think the next 2 days will be pretty telling for that. He's certainly making progress to do so. Had he been status quo, the further that goes on throughout the week, barely doing anything passing wise in team, it'd be hard to do so. I still wouldn't mind getting him out there for a series. I think if he ends the week where he's currently at, I'll say no, but hopefully he can do more Wednesday and Thursday.
All right. Tell me about Justin Fields' day.
Yeah, I don't know if I have a super big impression on his day overall. I think it was, fine overall. There's just so many passes that have been batted down. Got another one batted in 7 shots, and that got picked by Deshaun Elliott. It's been a good camp overall, but and I mentioned this a couple of times. Fields has spoken about it. Just a ton of passes batted down. And maybe, again, I've mentioned because the D-line knows they can't actually truly rush and can't hit the quarterback, that you get your hands up as a way to really impact the pass game. That's maybe one element of it. But Fields, I got to pull the numbers. We're probably up to like 10 passes batted down this training camp.
All right. How would you rate Wilson's showing, first kind of real showing today?
I mean, it's still probably a bit of an incomplete because there weren't a ton of throws. I mean, it was fine. I mean, it was a B. There wasn't any like crazy throw, but there wasn't a ton they were asking of him to do. There was I think a crosser to Pickens, which was fine, and looked his way quite a bit. And of course, you find number 14 as often as you can. So again, the quality of the reps, they were good. They were fine, no issues. But I just was happy to see him graduate and get more intense work.
All right, running back position. Is Jonathan Ward trying to peek his head out of that pile?
I think so. At least today's showing indicated that in the live tackling session, a true 80-yard touchdown run. Now, maybe Miles Killebrew and Nate Meters pulled up at the end to kind of let Ward run the final 20 yards, but they chased him pretty good and they could not catch him. And so that was, Ward with a couple good runs. Overall, the run game really looked strong today offensively. They busted off several big runs in that session. Ward with at least two of them. P. Ryan, a 20-yard run. So the O-line was moving the defense today. Now, granted, they didn't have TJ Watt and Cam Hayward and Patrick Queen, so the defense missing some pieces in there. But yeah, Jonathan Ward, he's showed some burst and speed. He works on special teams. Still tight, still fighting. But I would say that Ward is kind of that number 4, first in line for the practice squad as things sit today.
Alex, tell me a Tuesday night Jack Coletto story before bed, please.
All right, let's get you a warm glass of milk and tuck you into bed. Today, any Jack Coletto stories today? Not much from this showing. There was one interesting set where Fields was in pistol with the running back behind and Coletto was sidecar next to Justin Fields to his right. And so that pistol with the sidecar kind of action is interesting. But yeah, not a ton of work for, some fullback reps today. But, the last practice Sunday was kind of their big stay where they were really working some heavy personnel with Coletto out there a ton. So he's still fighting for a spot, still status quo. I think he's right on the bubble, and special teams may dictate whether or not he sings or swims.
All right, what do you got on the tight ends for Tuesday?
Not a ton here necessarily. Washington with a catch or two. It's been quiet in the pass game for Michael Pruitt. I mean, I did some of the camp stats, and he's got like maybe 1 or 2 catches over the last week. Don't think he had one today. So I'm not saying it's been bad, but it has been quiet from that standpoint. It's even gotten a little quieter for guys like, Pat Freiermuth, who's not been targeted quite as much as he was at the start of training camp, but those ebbs and flows, and it's just kind of an observation more than it is me trying to make any sort of point or any sort of alarm bell there. But yeah, the group's been, besides Rodney Williams, the group's been healthy and available and durable, and that's been really good to see.
All right, wide receiver. We've talked a lot about Van Jefferson so far. I think we all know that Pickens seems to be having a nice camp. Obviously, Roman Wilson's sideline. Give me an update on kind of the 3 guys after that. Scotty Miller, that group of Scotty Miller, Quez Watkins. Who else would be in that next group?
Calvin Austin. It's really... Yeah, I think Miller's been good. Even some of the camp stats, I didn't realize he was as productive as he's been. And Miller had a couple of tough catches today over the middle, one in live tackling with Darius Rush on him on a 10, 15-yard dig. Nate Meters screaming down. Probably Meters hit more Rush than he hit Miller ultimately. But I think Scotty's made some tough catches and shown his speed. So I think he's been the most productive of that group behind George Pickens and Van Jefferson. And when he was healthy, Roman Wilson. It's been pretty quiet for Calvin Austin. There's been a player or two, I think, in my camp stats heading into today over the last 6 practices 5 to 10, he had only 3 catches in team period. And sometimes it's randomness, and sometimes it's not. It doesn't mean he's not getting open. Quarterback may not look your way. The play call may not target you first in the progression, but it's really been generally pretty quiet overall for Calvin Austin.
All right. Now the part that I really want to get to today, the offensive line. We talked a lot about, might they start shaking some things up here pretty soon at the tackles and all like that. You've got some developments today that will hopefully get people to put away the pitchforks, maybe to some degree.
Hopefully, yeah, a lot to note here for the offensive line today. As you said, some moving and shaking. So Trey Fautanu ran first team right tackle throughout the entire practice, wire to wire. Broderick Jones and Dan Moore Jr. were splitting reps at left tackle. Moore would get the first 2, and then Jones would come in and get the next 2. I think generally, because second team, Fautanu didn't work second team right tackle because he was working first team right tackle, and Dylan Cook shifted from second team left tackle where he's been at to second team right tackle. And so that had to avoid their left tackle. They didn't want to kick Fautanu over, which I agree with. And so I think Broderick Jones was getting most of those second team left tackle reps. That may sound bad, but as we've talked about, I'm just happy that Jones is going to soak up and get those reps. He needs them because he's not gotten many of them since training camp began. And again, he was splitting first team left tackle reps with Dan Moore Jr. So he was still working in first team, was not exclusively second team. So from that standpoint, that was good to see those guys just get that work in.
I call this a polite way of slowly letting Dan Moore Jr. lose that job.
Maybe I still want to see more. I but pardon the pun there. I want to see just more Broderick Jones getting that left tackle work and kind of figure out their plan. I made the prediction, I think on the last episode, that Jones would be at left tackle and Fautanu at right tackle, and this is a step in that direction. But I'm just going to continue to watch and just kind of see how this team handles things. I imagine we're going to see maybe some similar things here next 2 days with the O-line.
All right, Dylan Cook was what?
Second team right tackle today.
Okay, and what happened with Mason McCormick's reps today? And Zach Frazier, I think you tweeted out, had his best practice of camp, yes?
Yes, to me, from what I observed, and I admit I don't catch everything in terms of every single rep, but from what I was able to see in one-on-ones and what I saw, in the reps that I noticed him, it was all positive. But with Isaac Seumalo getting the day off, which is his fourth day off at 11 practices, he's a well-rested individual, but he's earned it. You got a pretty good mix of Spencer Anderson and Mason McCormick splitting. I would say it's splitting first-team left guard reps. Maybe Anderson got a little bit more. He got the initial look in 7 shots, but they were both getting time there. And Ryan McCollum was working second team right guard in addition to a third team center. But yeah, more to the point, more to Zach Frazier. I mean, you're going to see some pancakes. You're going to see some nasty, put some maple syrup out on that field. Yeah. On Friday against Houston, because this guy certainly runs his feet. He had, I call 2 pancakes today, one, and both pulling. They were actually pulling the center some. So you get some of the power, get some of the trap game in there.
I'm going to need a shower, Alex. Stop.
All right, calm down. Settle. To complement the Arthur Smith, zone, wide zone based system. And so the first one, he pulls and he kicks out. Jacoby Windman didn't pancake him initially, but he's driving his feet and Windman doesn't want much of it. And Frazier puts him in the ground. And then later, I think late team session, he pulls, Frazier does left to right and kicks out Beanie Bishop. And of course, there's a size mismatch there, and then puts him on the ground. And Russell Wilson's hyped. He's high-fiving Zach Frazier. So you're seeing the aggressiveness, and it's been probably 4 or 5 pancakes Frazier has had over the team periods that I've seen so far. One-on-ones, he looked better, had some good reps against Logan Lee, snapped the ball well, no errors that I could tell. So nice day for Zach Frazier.
All right, so a significant day overall with the moving and shaking then.
Yeah, I would say so. Fautanu getting those first team right tackle reps. Frazier, to be clear, still second team center exclusively. Nate Herbig, first team center all the way through. But for Jones to get the left tackle work, for Fautanu to get first team right tackle work. Didn't get to see TJ Watt today because Watt had the day off. May happen tomorrow, but still getting some good battles. And Fautanu had some good reps 1v1 against Nick Herbig. One other note here, more minor, but I've been mentioned it once or twice. Tough camp for Anderson Hardy, the third team right tackle, even against Kyron Johnson today. And team had some issues, and so it's just been it's a guy I thought maybe had some promise going into camp, but it has been a bumpy road for him.
Yeah, I kind of wondered if he'd show something in there, but obviously he's on the outside and has been on the outside looking in, and we'll have to see how he does in games starting on Friday. All right, let's switch over to the defensive line. Leal dinged somehow today, evidently, according to Tomlin.
Yeah, again, I don't know. I mean, I saw he made one tackle in a run period. Trice set the edge. Leal came flying in behind and kind of tackled from behind the running back. I forget who the runner was. And Leal was slow to get up. He was on a knee, and then he got up and walked to the sideline. And he had several more reps and several more practices and sessions they went through after that. So I don't know if he got hurt later, like real late in practice, or if he was fighting through that initial injury that he suffered and tried to push through it. I'm not quite sure what it was. But again, we'll have to check him tomorrow. In terms of other D-line notes, Fehoko getting him some extra work today because Benton wasn't practicing, and Montravius Adams was working first team nose tackle. Larry Ogunjobi was back in team, like I mentioned earlier. So, getting some of the starters back, but you still had Lattimore getting more reps and probably Lee getting more reps as Cam Hayward had a half day, didn't work in team. So don't know if I have a direct takeaway from the day of the defensive lineman other than to say that the offensive line controlled the line of scrimmage. I think they certainly were the successor and winner in some of those run periods. But again, some opportunities for younger guys like, Leal before getting hurt, and Loudermilk, and even a fair amount of reps for a guy like Logan Lee.
All right, all Thomas said about Leal during his short press conference was Leal had something today, but it's that time of year. I don't so not a lot to go on when it comes to there. We'll have to see how the rest of the week shapes up for him. Boy, it'd be great to see him in that game Friday night, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that's a guy that's going to need to get those reps and, try to carry over what I think has been a good start to the summer and hopefully keep that into, in-stadium action.
All right, outside linebacker, a little bit thin lines today and probably got thinner late with Alex Highsmith.
Yeah, and Liao was working outside linebacker reps too. And so you lose him and you're getting even thinner there. That's kind of my takeaway of the day. Again, you're going to get TJ Watt back tomorrow. Hopefully Moon can come back within a day or two. He's making progress. You get Kyron Johnson back. So we'll have to see if they make a move. I mean, they're doing some different things. They moved Liao and had him work some reps outside, and they've had Jacoby Windman play outside linebacker. He has a background there in college at UNLV and Michigan State. So I don't know if they're definitely going to make a move tomorrow, but would not be shocking if they did. Johnson looked good, but it was against Hardy. A lot of reps that I noticed there. Johnson had big issues with Dylan Cook and some of those 1v1s. Cook had a nice day there against Johnson in that period. Julius Wolshoff I think he's been better than what I thought. He loves that spin move though, and he's too tall for that spin move to work. So there's one critique of Wolshoff. I would say it's to 86 to spin.
All right. Tell me about inside linebacker today.
The guy of the day was a Landon Roberts, man. This guy was man on a mission. I mean, he was just, despite the defense's overall struggles and some of the run periods, Roberts was the best guy with that front seven. He was stumping, he was hitting, he had tackles at the line of scrimmage against Jalen Warren early. He's hitting Najee. I mean, he was really intense, really bringing it today. Even I think Najee, after kind of getting popped on one rep, he finishes his jog and he's walking back and says, E-Rob, or what does he say? E-Rob. Let me get my notes here correct. I don't have it here. E-Rob want to play live today. And that's what he said, Harris, of a Landon Roberts. So Harris even said that Roberts was mic'd up. I don't know if he exactly said that. Maybe that was bringing the intensity for Roberts, knowing the cameras and microphones would be on him. But either way, Roberts was attacking everything downhill, as he always does.
All right, and a good practice for Peyton Wilson?
Yeah, I think it was fine. I mean, he was getting some of that dime inside linebacker work, not the dime backer, but like the lone inside linebacker on the field and dime without Patrick Queen. They were kind of working some of the second teamers in that 2-minute drill they ran today that ended in a Kyle Allen touchdown pass to Quez Watkins, although it should have ended in a 4th down drop. Mike Tomlin called a phantom penalty to let them get up some extra reps there. But yeah, Peyton Wilson, no major takeaway overall. Couldn't bring down Najee Harris in 7 shots as he ran through an arm tackle. But yeah, Wilson getting those reps, and that's good to see.
All right, recap the cornerback position.
Yeah, I think the couple of names I want to talk about, not at the top of the depth chart, but guys I think that have really started to come on strong, trying to at least, push practice squad and maybe even a 53 in some respect, is Thomas Graham Jr. and Anthony Averett. Those guys I think have continued to make plays. Graham Jr. working second team slot behind Bishop as Josiah Scott's been long gone, and Braylon Arnold, I guess, not 100% back, still limited individual, not working in team. Graham is aggressive on the football. He's got a nose for it. He had a good punch out or a good breakup at the catch point today. The ball popped up and Averett picked it off. And so Graham has got 2 picks in camp, and he's got that one that essentially was a third credited to him to make the play that fell into Averett's arms there. But Averett too has made plays. He's been tight in coverage. He had a breakup on Scotty Miller in 2-minute today. And so is Averett a guy to consider for a backup cornerback spot? I have not seen him do much on special teams, and that could certainly be a concern, but he's a veteran guy that I think has gotten better as camp's gone on and gotten more reps too.
All right. They slowly ramping up Corey Trice, and he talked after practice today.
They are, as Terrell Austin spoke it into existence. So he was sincere when he said the reps would increase. And I think more particular, what I'm interested in is some of the dime package work. You're seeing him out there in dime as that 6DB. Now, some of that isn't based off of, health and reps, getting maybe not working Minka every single rep and, that kind of stuff. But Trice could be really interesting as somebody that could take on some tight ends. I've mentioned before, when you face Mark Andrews twice a year, you're going to face Travis Kelce on Christmas, and who are the other kind of gauntlet of tight ends I'm sure they're going to face throughout this season. So can Trice try to work that dime role from that size standpoint, former safety at Purdue? You'd love to have him do that.
What kind of practice did Joey Porter Jr. have? And tell me about Darius Rush's day.
Rush, again, he's lost some reps here overall, was running firmly second string outside corner to start camp, and it's really been kind of a mix since. I don't know if I have any other particular note on Rush. Let me kind of check my notes here. Anything? No, nothing really crazy. I don't think on Darius Rush. Gave up that one catch to Miller over the middle, but that's my only real note there. Porter, again, nothing really, not many things thrown his way, if anything, today. The fade ball to Pickens was not against Porter. Casey had bumped out, and it was a size mismatch there, obviously. But again, we've not talked about Porter that much. It's not been like an amazing camp, but I think Porter has had a fine camp. I think he got praised for good run defense on one rep. I don't know what he did. I didn't see it, but the coaches were singing his praises.
All right, safety position. Bad day, bad time for Nate Metters to have a hammy.
Yeah, especially because he was having a good day. I mean, he picked off Kyle Allen in 7 shots, jumped a route in front of Connor Hayward. Allen has really struggled in some of those tight areas. He's got a bunch of picks and shown some tunnel vision and just kind of stared down some targets. And so he's really regressed, I think, in some of that goal line 7 shots type of stuff, a ton of interceptions. But Metters, he can hit. I don't know how great of an athlete he is, but I mean, he can hit, and he's made some plays in coverage. And I think he was going to push for a practice squad spot. And the injury, hopefully it's a Kyron Johnson hamstring that only kept him out a week, as opposed to a more serious hamstring where you can go 2-3 weeks of missing time, which is basically the rest of this process till cut down date. So it'd be unfortunate for Metters because he was having a nice day.
All right. What you got on special teams today? Cameron Johnston out there today punting some.
Yeah, he had a couple good punts. I think it's been a fine camp for Johnston. He had a couple, at least 1 over 5 seconds of hang time, which is a really elite mark for an environment like this. But that's my overall notes. Chris Boswell was kicking. I know there was maybe some concern about, he didn't work the other day, but he kicked. I think he was perfect on his kicks. It's hard to tell on my angle. The refs weren't there, so I usually defer to the refs to tell me if it's good or not because they're right under the uprights. So I couldn't tell. Matthew Wright, I don't think kicked today. He was there. I don't know what's up with Matthew Wright. They just wanted to give Boz extra work, or if I missed something, or whatever the case is. But that was the special teams notes, no kickoffs, and just a note on Cam Sutton, a missed tackle or 2 in that run session from that safety spot. So obviously Sutton has been working safety and a corner that's still kind of tackling like a corner in space.
All right, the main storylines, the main takeaways from Tuesday would be Russell Wilson doing more and the offensive line shaking up a little bit, correct?
Yep, those are the 2 big ones. Wilson getting his most work so far, the O-line shuffling around, Broderick Jones getting left tackle work, Troy Fautanu getting right tackle work, and Zach Frazier, to me, having a really good day.
All right, anything else you'd like to add before we start winding up here?
I think we are good to go. I don't think anything in my notes here needs to be added. Be back out there Tuesday and Wednesday, and yeah, we'll go from
today
there.
Is Tuesday.
Oh God, I have no idea. I mean, you know how it is in campus. I have literally no idea what day or anything is, but out there Wednesday and Thursday.
All right, if you didn't get enough in this roughly 30-minute episode, run by, or you should do it anyway. Hopefully you do. Run by SteelersDepot.com. Look for the Alex Kozora Daily Camp Diary and give that a read. And it should catch you up with everything that you need to know from practice on Tuesday. Alex, as he said, will be back out there Wednesday morning, and we'll be back Wednesday night to recap it in a special edition episode of the Terrible Podcast. And sometime later tonight being Tuesday, we will record the Wednesday morning episode of the Terrible Podcast. There's going to warning. There's going to be a lot of Brandon Ayuk discussion in that. Hopefully, I don't know. We'll see if we have some final, if this thing comes to a head or not, but that should give you at least a heads up of kind of things we'll be talking about. We'll see which way that show goes. I'm sure we can come up with several other topics to talk about. So in the meantime, you can follow me on Twitter /X at Steelers Depot. Follow Alex at Alex_Kozora. Follow the show at Terrible Podcast. Email the show, theterriblepodcast@gmail.com. If you like what we do, want to donate, SteelersDepot.com, hit the donate button. Also, if you like an ad-free version of the site, SteelersDepot.com, find the ad-free button and follow the directions that way. As always, thanks for listening to the Terrible Podcast, another special edition of the Terrible Podcast, Pittsburgh Steelers Training Camp 2024 with Dave and Alex.